Welcome to Narratives Leadership Story Talks, where great leaders go beyond the bottom line to create lasting impact. Join hosts Jerome and Julienne Ryan as they uncover the stories behind real-world challenges, offering practical insights to help you lead with empathy, authenticity, and purpose. Each episode dives into how leaders use storytelling to build trust, foster connection, and inspire action. Whether you're navigating workplace dynamics, driving change, or building high-performing teams.
We don't actually help people come on board the journey. We don't help people adapt and grow in what they believe is possible for themselves, for their future. And so what we really want to do is we want to make space and create breathing space for those concerns, for the feedback, for, maybe that criticality or that negativity or that resistance, and then help them actually work through that. And the other side to this that I would probably add is, it's not your problem all the time to fix. So one of the things can sometimes be, especially if you are, working on projects, working with clients, it's actually the responsibility sits with them to have to want to change how they think and feel and how they behave, how they operate. You can, lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Hello again, everyone. I am joined with my wonderful co-host, Julienne Ryan, and I'm Jerome DeRoy. Good to see you, Julienne.
Yes, always. Happy to be here having another chat.
Yeah, absolutely. So we just heard from Lata Hamilton in Australia. And we pulled that quote, I think in the moment, Julienne, you felt strongly that should be it. This idea that, you got to figure out whether it's you that's not fitting in, or is it the environment that you're in that's not working, and be really brave in terms of interrogating that and coming to your own conclusions. And she had this great story of clearly not being in the right environment, and realizing that once she found the right environment, and that it was really not good for her to stay in that particular environment, even though she loved working there. So I thought that was interesting, and maybe I'll give you the floor for this one, Julienne, to begin with.
Oh my goodness, yes. And anybody just listening to the audio is missing out my little head bobbings going constantly here as much as possible. So the thoughts that came to mind when she said that, and you have to see what Lata looks like. She's a bright light, energy emanating out of her. And to think that she was starting to feel diminish and shrink in her own space was disheartening. But she represented so many people we encountered just feel like they've been either beaten down or dismissed, or told them that they're supposed to fit in a nice little neat box. So when we're doing our work, Durham, I know you and I pay attention to the situation. What's giving someone energy and what's taking it away from them, and why? And she makes a good point, seeking guidance and seeking coaching and people who are trusted to really take an objective look at the situation, and then encouraging a pivot. And it just resonated with me in so many different ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I'm glad you mentioned, people right now that we know who are really struggling at the moment and trying to figure out, what is my next move in terms of my career, or in terms of my team, and, my services that I offer, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on. And we often encounter people like that. Why? Because they're in the middle of a particular story right now that's a little bit different than the one they've had so far. And that can create a lot of internal turmoil, because you're not quite sure if the story you've been telling is still serving you or not, or what parts of it can serve you. And that comes to me from, in terms of, thinking about that. I think that idea where you're not quite sure whether your story is working or not, it's not just your audience that's telling you that, but it's also yourself, your gut. And it's a lack of ability to kind of see the future. To me, that's what I see a lot of, is that people get really fearful and hesitant and reluctant to change because they're not able to see, themselves in a particular future that's positive, optimistic, etc. And so I think it's really important. A lot of our work right now with people is to help them articulate that. What's the kind of future that you do want to have? And then let's see if we can tell a story as if it's already happened. And that I've found really helps people ground themselves into reality, basically. So we're not talking about stories that are going to change the world, because that's kind of how realistic is that for most people. It's more about what is my story right now? What's my life like? My career, my experiences, and where do I see myself going? Despite all these external elements that always seem to conspire against us.
Well, I want to take that and say maybe not the entire world, but we have an impact on others. If we take a pause of our actions, our words, and how we're positioning using our language, we can have a ripple effect. I'm holding on to that. That's what's keeping me sane, right? In any given day and seeing the results over times where I used to doubt that possibility. And the beauty of the work that you do with your clients and I do with our clients when we're using story, it's foundational. So just like a musician practice their scales or their vocalizations every day, or an athlete does their stretching, etc., the story work is foundational because you're going down and digging in what are my core gifts and values and what do I want to carry with me. That's different to saying, here's all my job skills. And before you get into that left brain list of, here's all my technology, here's all my attributes, go down to your foundational bits about where do I bring value to a situation and to myself, and where do I have a sense of purpose. And I think that changes how we look at our work and how we approach others, whether it's networking or a job interview, and it'll come across. We've seen the results of that.
Yeah, beautifully said. And I think at the core, the basis of all this, when you are going through a period of change and you're not quite sure where to go next, listening is really key. And I think that's really what we bring to people, is the ability to just listen to them and then support them in listening to themselves. And so that if you need to vent for hours, that's totally fine. You should do that, and get that out of the way. We call that obstacles to listening, right? It's not positive or negative. It just is. And we all have that. And so that's all our judgments and everything that's going on, our fears. When you get that, when you find a space within which you can speak those things and find practices and strategies to not sweep them under the rug, but set them aside for just a little bit, you'd be really surprised at the kinds of stories that start to emerge when you create that kind of listening for yourself. So I really encourage people to do this kind of work and look at yourselves right now. It's a good moment to do that, especially when we're so called, perhaps, to look at everything externally, right? And I know that when I do that, I get really overwhelmed. So rather, I'm trying to go back to what I can shape, what I can control, what I can impact. To your point, Julienne, we're not talking about changing the world, just my world, right? What can I do in this? And that'll have a ripple effect, as you said, for other people as well. So that's our offering to all of you listeners. And I'm really glad we had Lata on the show to kind of create that springboard for us. She was a ray of sunshine and light and hope. So I really encourage everybody to go and listen to that episode on narrative.com, narativ.com/podcast. And of course, if you are in a situation where you're looking at your own story and your next move, don't hesitate to get in touch with us. We are at narrative.com. We're always ready to listen to you and create that space for you so that you can find the story that most matters to you and that can move the needle and have that ripple effect on other people. So we look forward to hearing from you. And until next time, thanks again, Julienne, for being my wonderful co-host.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
For more information on the narrative listening and storytelling method and how it can help your business, go to narrative.com.